So as mentioned in the last video, after I applied the clear coat, I discovered that I made a small mistake in applying the black and it was way too rough. Now the clear coat was not able to fix this. Yes, it was still shiny, but it had a lot of orange peel, a lot of really rough orange peel that is, and I did not really like that. So I took a couple of hours and started to polish it, and first off sand it down to a super smooth finish, starting it off with some 2500 grit, going to get it completely flat, and then moving up in the grits, eventually ending up at 12,000, and then starting to polish it back with some various polishing compounds. When the entire roof was sanded down super flat with the 2500 grit, I moved on to 3500 grit, repeating the same process and getting it a lot shinier, removing all those 2500 grits and working up to 45, 6000, 8000, and eventually ending up at 12,000. And after 12,000, I was about 3 hours later, and I moved on to applying some compounds to get the shine back into it. I got a compound set from Gravity Colors a while back when they sent me over some paints, so I put that to good use. First applying stage 1, then just rubbing it in with the polishing cloth and just rubbing it in even more with the rotary tool from Proxxon and a polishing bit that is available on theskillmodeler.com, and then removing it again, moving on to stage 2, doing the same process with rubbing it in and using the machine polish, and going over to stage 3. So as I said, after finishing stage 1, I repeated the same process, but then with the stage 2 polish, and again rubbing it in using the machine polisher from Proxxon and the polishing bit I got from theskillmodeler.com, and repeated the same process again on stage 3. And again, as mentioned, stage 3, moving on to the final polishing compound, just rubbing it in and making sure it's all the way spread over the entire piece you want to polish, and then polish it out with the rotary tool and the polishing bit. After all the sanding and various stages of polish, there is of course some polish left behind in all those panel lines, and you want that gone. But you don't want to scratch up the paint and don't want to leave it either, so the simplest solution is just to use a soft brush. In this case it's just a Tamiya paintbrush with some very soft bristles and some warm water, just to remove it lightly. Just first coat it with some water and brush it a bit. If it doesn't want to be removed, just let it sit for a while and get back to it after a couple of minutes. Try again, but just be very gentle and repeat it a couple of times if it doesn't work the first way around, and be sure that everything is completely gone before moving on to the next stages. With all of the polishing compounds now removed from all of those panel lines, just grab your superfine microfiber towel, clean up all the dirty water that is left behind, and leave a perfectly clean and super shiny body. After all this hard work, this is pretty much what you are left with in the good light, or from a couple of feet away. In some other light, it shows some couple of light scratches that I can't really get out and are really hard to photograph, but that is pretty much all that you're left with. But be realistic, there will be some scratches visible after polishing. It's as simple as that, and I cannot find a way around it or a way to remove those completely. So be aware. In some cases, the polishing might improve it. In this case, it obviously did. In others, it's just better to leave it behind and not touch it at all. And with that all said and done, there were also some other pieces on the body that needed to be painted in some semi-gloss black. So I moved on to masking off the body, as you could see just there, and then applied a couple of light coats of the black to those certain areas, removed the masking, and the body is pretty much complete as far as the painting goes for now. After I finished applying the masking tape, I filled up the airbrush with some semi-gloss black and coated the two side skirts partially and some pieces on the rear bumper. After giving the paint a little time to dry off, I quickly removed all the masking tape, being careful not to touch the freshly painted areas, and be sure that all the masking tape wasn't staying too long on the paint, as it doesn't really like that in most cases. And the quicker you pull the masking tape off, the cleaner of an edge you will likely leave on those freshly painted areas. So as you can see, the masking tape pulled away cleanly. A nice sharp edge was left between the freshly painted areas and the previously painted areas, and there was no overspray on the rest of the body pieces, and it was still nice and shiny on all those other areas.